Good morning. Good morning to my American sisters and brothers. I am known unscripted, and I am. These are all matchsticks. Sorry, I just couldn't hide it. I'm a little lounged today, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I feel is urgent. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video about seditious conspiracy. I still wholeheartedly believe that what Donald is doing right now is seditious conspiracy. He has been doing it ever since the election was called by the media, and he's only doubled down on it to the point where the lawsuit that was dismissed by the Supreme Court, and yesterday, before he went to bed, he sent out his barrage of text messages where he effectively defies the Supreme Court's opinion and says, "Fight on." Now, there's nothing to fight on about, well, except for inciting his base to not accept a free and fair election. That even the United States Supreme Court has refused to see because it doesn't really see any merits in the case. Uh, just a caveat about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the United States has original jurisdiction over certain cases, which is cases arising between states. But I'll tell you something about the Supreme Court that my professor in law school told me, is that the Supreme Court can do whatever the fuck it wants. Okay, that's the honest truth about the Supreme Court. Now, generally, the Supreme Court dismisses a case on something like standing because they don't even want to get into the matter. And standing is one of those things where what is standing? Standing means, does one party have the place, the right to sue? Are they even able, if the claim is reasonable and cognizable, they still may not have standing because they are Texas going after Michigan, both of which are sovereigns and are governed by their own laws. An attack on one state by another is an attack on another sovereign. And that is what the Supreme Court effectively said. You don't have, even if they're the right people to bring a suit for Michigan law would be Michigan, people from Michigan, the state of Michigan, authorities in Michigan, groups in Michigan, or whichever state, a state that is by no means affected by another state's election law, and they're not affected because Texas's election law and elections and outcomes are not determined or hurt or in any way impeded by Michigan's procedures. It's just not. And to say that it's causing a collective harm is untrue because there's no evidence of fraud, which is the reason why the courts have summarily dismissed over 50 cases. Now, the Supreme Court also talked about this. Oh, let me just go back to this original jurisdiction bit. So the Supreme Court can take whatever case it wants, really. And once you get to that level of that level of jurisprudence, you find a legal argument for anything. You can. And things flip on literally, flip on the head of the needle. So that's the space within which the Supreme Court operates, and that's why they get thousands and thousands of cases asking for appeal, and they only grant certiorari to 100 cases or even less than that, 20 cases. I don't know. I'm not a practicing attorney, let alone somebody versed in Supreme Court procedure and that bar, the rules of that bar. So The standing part of it, they don't have standing, but there's also another part that is very important in that small little thing that people aren't talking about. They also said every other procedure, every other matter that is stringing along with this is now moot. Do you see what I mean? So effectively, by saying that mootness and standing are the Supreme Court's famous tools to not even touch the merits of the case if they don't think it's unworthy, if they think it's unworthy of the Supreme Court's of the court's notice. And moot means the issue has already been resolved. So what the Supreme Court has said is not just that there's no standing, but accompanying matters are now moot, which means that any case in which one state brings a case about election law, this is actually very landmark precedent in a paragraph. Any state that sues another state for their election law absent any evidence, forget about evidence, about their laws that in no way impacts the other state, which is suing the state, like Texas is suing Michigan and the other Pennsylvania and the battleground states. The Supreme Court has said this is now moot. So any case that comes with one state going after another state's election laws will be, by the basis of this small summary ruling, it rendered moot, means it cannot be brought into the court. The court will not review it. The court will not even grant it certiorari, let alone even issue a little opinion like the one that we have, or even the sentence that Justice Alito sent out. So that's the truth about this opinion. I think that the word moot got buried in the that little short, and I don't know how it escaped. It's not just that they don't have standing, it's that accompanying matters are moot. That is a statement saying that states coming after states about their election laws don't have standing. And any other case that comes to us that says so is already resolved by this ruling. So so you have to understand that's what the Supreme Court has said. Done. That is done. But now what Donald is doing is he's continued to double down. He wants to secede and which means that he's going against the state now. Now the federal violation of 18 U.S.C. 2384 of seditious conspiracy is moving into insurrection mode and heading towards full-on treason. Okay, so conspiracy, the word conspiracy is an inchoate offense, right? It took me a very long time to understand what that was. So conspiracy requires the specific intent to commit some crime or to commit a certain act. Now that conspiracy requires more than one person, and that conspiracy has to come from the specific intent of doing that act, not actually having done that act. Okay, so a seditious conspiracy is undermining the governmental structures and the people's credit and faith in their own government, their Supreme Court, their legislatures, their own state governments, their own election officials. And that conspiracy the intention is to overturn the outcome of a free and fair democratic election where no election fraud was found by the courts and no evidence was provided in the courts about it, with evidence of voter fraud. Now, so what is now happened at this point, after that comment that Donald Trump made on Twitter, and Twitter is speech. If you come and say he's protected, it's not speech, or private, spare me that bullshit, okay? If Twitter is a platform that peddles in words and speech, then speech is an integral factor, and you cannot just say a private space is excluded from the rules of the Constitution, especially when a state actor is the one who is doing this. He's a state actor. Every agent that he has is a state actor, including people in his campaign, because they work for him, who is a state actor. So they become agents of a state actor, and they become liable, and they're not protected by Section 230, which protects matter on the internet, because the intention of Section 230 is to stop violations of federal laws. So you have to understand that that crime of 18 USC 2384 of Sedition Conspiracy has now been completed with that tweet that he sent out yesterday, defying the Supreme Court and saying fight on, after the Supreme Court said that this case, and this along with all other cases that make this claim, don't have standing in the future. So, and this is a unanimous court that made that opinion, mind you. The dissent that Alito and Thomas provided was an opinion, was their personal opinion, that original jurisdiction doesn't allow you the discretion of choosing which case to take. And that's a crock of opinion, personal opinion. And they make that clear as well by saying that we are not commenting on the merits of it. And this statement is purely about original jurisdiction and its dicta. They even make that clear in their 2 lines. So please, my fellow Americans, I plead you today to understand what's happening and get ready for people that you don't expect to come out of the corners and start being belligerent and because there's this massive brainwashing campaign that's been going on for 5 years, 6 years. Don't blame social media. You know, there was a time that people blamed the television, and then there was DVDs and CDs and MTV. And no, we have to blame our own choices. Yeah, we have to blame, what we do with it. The people who detested this shared it and spread it like wildfire, and it came into our lives. And now we need to reject it, not just by not sharing it anymore, but standing up to it actively and attacking the hate, not the people, not with violence, but attacking the rhetoric, breaking it down for the people, and breaking this lethal grip that somehow Donald and GOP, ultra fundamentalist GOP, seditionists have done. So that you need to really be aware now, yeah, because we still have some time. January 5th is important. If you are watching this and if you're in Georgia, please register to, oh wait, no, that time has passed. You can't register to vote anymore. So I hope that all of you have registered to vote. Now, turn out, please, and vote for Ossoff and Reverend Warnock, because we need, this last stimulus check didn't come for people. This was just a $900 billion stimulus check for everything but people. And Mitch McConnell's argument was that it would cost too much to give every person $1,200 in their pocket, or every eligible person $1,200 in their pocket, because that would cost $300 billion. Mind you, the bill that they passed is $908 billion. So that's just a frame of reference, right? And that's just going to continue happening if Mitch McConnell has control over the Senate. And we're not going to get any help from the government. And whatever the Biden-Harris team tries to do, the Senate's going to get in the way. And it's going to become an institutional operation in treason, instead of being the most hallowed political body in the United States. upper chamber of the Congress of the United States, where wisdom is supposed to reign. So please, I plead you to listen and to see what the Supreme Court has said. The Supreme Court has given us the power to say, okay, enough now. Every day, every tweet that he makes after the Supreme Court opinion has come out that casts doubt on the elections is completing the four corners of the seditious conspiracy law, 18 USC 2384. And you need to keep on chanting that and repeating that and telling people that and asking your US attorneys why they're not investigating. If they are, where they are in the investigations. So with that, thank you. Please, thank you. Thank you for everyone who's watched. Thank you for everyone who's supported me. I'm not in the habit of asking you to subscribe. I'm not in the habit of asking you to like. So you can like and subscribe if you like. If not, unlike, whatever you want. But stay safe, mask up, and please, please, please call your representatives about this. Call the U.S. attorneys in your districts. Call the U.S. attorneys headquarters. And not the attorney generals. You can call the state attorney generals of the states, of the battleground states, where if especially if they were parties to the suit that went up to the Supreme Court. So yeah, and I say Michigan because I lived in Michigan for a long time. I actually learned the law in Michigan. So I grew up in Michigan a lot, and I served AmeriCorps in Michigan, and cleaned schools and gardens in Flint, and I have a very deep connection with Michigan, and I know what Michigan is, and Michigan is just one of the most incredible places on the planet. So hold fast, everybody. Also, January 6th, you have to make sure that you're alert, because that's the day that Congress counts the votes of the electors, and Pence oversees that. So 5th and 6th will be important. And then we have to hold fast and just be ever vigilant until 12:01, until Joe Biden puts his hand on that Bible. Okay? My dogs are barking because it's time, their food time. So love y'all. Stay safe. Stay aware. Bye-bye.